Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you could make it today. I have really been missing doing STEM with everybody and am so excited to be able to bring it to you virtually. I do miss seeing all of your faces and getting hands-on with our activities, but hopefully this is the next best thing. Since it is our summer reading program and we have a theme of Imagine Your Story, I'm going to kind of go with a theme for our STEM Saturdays as well. I'm also going to change it up a little bit and add in a book, which can't hurt, right? Today's book I have is Move On Up That Beanstalk, Jack. And it's a fairy tale with physics of force and motion. So that's what our program's going to be about today. Obviously, force and motion. After I read the book, we'll talk a little bit like we normally do, have our discussions, and we'll move on to our activity, which I have set up in the back. So let's get to the book. Move On Up That Beanstalk, Jack by Thomas Kingsley Trout. Some time ago, in a land you'll never find on a map, lived a boy named Jack and a mom named Mom. They shared a small house and a sad, empty garden. I'm so hungry I could eat my shoes, said Jack. I'm hungry too, Mom said. I'd make a dirt sandwich, but we're all out of bread. One afternoon, Jack looked out the window at their bony cow named Gloria. She mooed and ate the last pea in the garden. Jack's stomach began to rumble. We have to do something, he told Mom, or we're going to starve. Gloria stuck out her tongue and swished her tail. You see Gloria back there? That's it, Jack said. I'm going to town to sell that awful cow. Good idea, Mom said, staring at the blank TV screen. Then we can pay our cable bill. Jack groaned. No, we need to buy food, Mom. Oh, of course, she replied. Sorry. Jack went outside, grabbed Gloria's rope, and pulled. The cow wouldn't budge. Moo, she said. How about you move instead? Jack said. How's it going, Jack? Mom called from the window. I'm pulling on the rope, but this annoying cow is just standing here, Jack replied. A force can be a pull or a push, Mom said. Try pushing her. She'll move. Jack pushed Gloria as hard as he could. With a grunt, she finally moved, and the two headed to town. In town, people crowded the streets. They hurried from place to place, not one of them wanting to buy a bony cow. Moo, Gloria said. Yeah, we need Mooney, Jack said, for food and cable TV. Just as Jack was ready to give up, he spotted a man selling cell phones and beans. Jack accidentally bumped into the man's table and some beans fell onto the sidewalk. Oops, Jack said. Sorry about that. No problem, the man said. That's what gravity does. Gravy? Jack asked. That sounds delicious right now. No, the man said, not gravy, gravity. Do you guys know what gravity is? That's right. It's the force that pulls everything with mass towards Earth's center. Buildings, cars, people. I thought things just fell, Jack said. Gravity makes that happen, the man explains. Hey, would you like to trade me your cow for these beans? I don't like beans, Jack said. Oh, but these beans are magic beans. You plant them and you'll grow one amazing giant sized. Yeah, okay, sure, whatever, Jack says. I'll take the beans. Jack couldn't wait to tell his mom the good news. Do you think trading a cow for beans, magic beans, of course, is good news? I don't know if I'd be happy. Mom, look, Jack cried. I got some beans. We don't like beans, Mom said. How much money did you get for the cow? No money, Jack said. Just these beans. Magic beans. Jack, beans only grow more beans, Mom said. She snatched them from her son's hand and threw them out the window, hard. The tiny veggies disappeared into the garden dirt. Good arm, Mom, Jack said. Thank you, Mom said. That was a lot of force, wasn't it? Late that night, a thunderstorm soaked the land with rain, and something happened in the garden. What do you think happened? That's right. They threw the beans, fell in some dirt, got some rain, and boom. What is that? Jack cried, looking out the window the next morning. He leapt from bed and raced outside. And of course, Mom followed. A huge, thick beanstalk towered overhead. It stretched high into the clouds. Great, Mom said. Now we'll have tons of giant beans we won't eat. I'll try to shake some loose, Jack said. He pushed on the beanstalk and then pushed harder. The beanstalk wouldn't budge. Why do you think it won't move? That's right. He is too small to move that giant beanstalk. Look how little he is compared to the beanstalk. Jack gazed at the clouds. Maybe, just maybe, there was something to eat up there. He grabbed his gloves, gave his mom a hug, and started to climb. He climbed pretty high, and then he climbed some more. And after he climbed a while, he, of course, climbed some more. Jack's house down below was starting to look like a tiny speck. If I let go right now, he said, gravity would pull me down fast, and that would hurt. Hey, a voice boomed above Jack's head. What are you doing, little guy? Jack froze. Where's that voice coming from? You look hungry, kid, the voice continued. Come on up, I'll fix you a sandwich. Jack had no idea whose voice it was, but he was pretty hungry, he thought, so how can I say no to a sandwich? So, with a loudly growling stomach, Jack kept on climbing to the top of the beanstalk. And this, to my surprise and probably yours, is what he found up there. Everything above the clouds was big, really big, especially the man sitting beside the beanstalk. Hey, kid, the giant boomed. I'm Dennis. I'm Jack, Jack said. Please enjoy this sandwich, Dennis said. It's going to stay at rest until you eat it. Jack raised an eyebrow. A sandwich at rest? He asked. It's all about inertia, Dennis said. Newton's first law of motion says the objects will stay at rest or in motion until acted upon by a force. The force, in this case, is Jack. Who's Norton? Jack asked. Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, Dennis said. He studied how objects move. Newton used his discoveries to create the 3 laws of motion. So if I eat some of this delicious looking sandwich, I'll disrupt its rest? Jack asked. That's right, Dennis said. Well, then, let's wake it up, Jack said, tearing off a fistful of bread. He's ready to eat. In surprisingly little time, Jack ate a big chunk of the sandwich. So Dennis asked, Are you a chef? Jack asked Dennis. No, the giant said. I'm studying to be a science teacher. I like figuring out how stuff works. Jack pointed at the beanstalk. That thing grew overnight from 4 magic beans, he said. It's impossible to move. I've tried. That's Newton's second law of motion, Dennis said. He showed Jack a page from his physics book in his lap. An object's speed can change based on its mass and the forces acting upon it. The beanstalk didn't move at all when I pushed on it, Jack said. That's right, because the beanstalk has a much greater mass compared to you, little guy, Dennis said. The more mass an object has, the more force is needed to move it. Now, if Dennis tries to move it, Dennis reached over and gave the huge beanstalk a tap. And what do you think happened? It wobbled. That's right. I want to show you something, Dennis continued. The giant scooped up Jack and ran down the street. And this is what the inside of Dennis's apartment looks like. Do you recognize anything from the original Jack and the Beanstalk? There's the golden harp. There's the chicken that lays the golden eggs. Let's see what we find in Dennis's apartment. Dennis's apartment was very big. Jack saw lots of science books, a caged hen, and a large golden harp. Are you a musician too? Jack asked. No, Dennis said, strumming the strings with his fingers. The harp is my sister's. The harp made a loud, beautiful noise. Oh, cool, says Jack. That is Newton's third law of motion, Dennis said. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Are you guys remembering these laws? Good, because that's what we're going to talk about when we're done with this book. I get it, Jack said. You strummed the strings, and they vibrated and made noise. Yes, Dennis said. Now you try. Jack pulled one of the harp strings as hard as he could, and it made a faint hum. Big strum, big sound. Little strum, little sound, Jack said. Dennis's stomach rumbled and made the kitchen table shake. You know, Jack, he said with a smile, it's been a long time since I had a human for lunch. What do you mean? Jack said. I mean, it's been a long time since I had company for lunch. It's nice, the giant explained, his stomach rumbling again. Oh, Jack said, so how about a sandwich? I'd love an omelet, Dennis said, but my hen lays only golden eggs now. Sadly, you can't cook those. Dennis picked up an egg and tossed it, thunk, in a basket nearly filled with other golden eggs. Could you imagine having that many golden eggs? Just a basket of gold lying around. Who doesn't want golden eggs? Silly giants. Jack didn't like the way Dennis was looking at him. If the giant's stomach growled one more time, Jack needed to get out of that apartment and fast. Yeah, Jack said, I hear ya. Golden eggs aren't helpful at all when you're hungry. Right, Dennis said. I like omelets with mushrooms and Colby Jack cheese. Jack cheese. Jack cheese? Jack exclaimed. That's it. I've got to go. Quick as a flash, Jack jumped off the kitchen table and ran to the door. Wait, where are you going? Dennis asked. Just pushed and pushed and pushed, but the door didn't budge. Oh no, he thought, not another one of Newton's laws of motions. Fee, fi, fo, fool, Dennis sang, walking up behind him. The door opens with a pull. Hey, wait, what's your hurry, Jack? You forgot your... Dennis shouted. Newton should have a fourth law of motion, Jack cried, running as fast as he could. Anyone chased by a hungry giant will move really fast. When Jack reached the beanstalk, he tightened his gloves and started sliding down, and the giant followed. Gloves are a good idea, little guy, Dennis said. They provide friction. Friction is what happens when the surface of one object meets another. How do you know all of this stuff? Jack cried. Friction can help slow you down, Dennis said. It works in the opposite direction of motion. Please slow down so I can... Forget it, Jack said. No way. I don't want you to make me the cheese in your omelet. Jack continued to slide home. The whole beanstalk shook as Dennis climbed down after him. When Jack reached the ground, he yelled towards the house, "Mom, get me an axe! There's a giant coming down the beanstalk after me!" A moment later, Mom ran out and tossed him an axe. "Wait, Jack!" Dennis shouted from above. And Jack started to chop. And he chopped a lot, and then he chopped some more, and after countless numbers of chops, he, of course, did some more chopping. The beanstalk tipped, then toppled over. Dennis landed with a boom. Nearby, houses collapsed, a lake spilled into a valley, and somewhere, a baby even cried. "Wow, what a drop! Thank goodness my shirt was loose and slowed down my fall," Dennis said. It created a drag, which acted in the opposite direction of motion, kind of like a parachute. Jack sighed. "Yes, thank goodness," he said. "Well, go ahead and eat me. Get it over with. You wanted to eat me, right? That's why you were chasing me." No, Dennis says. "You dropped your wallet at my apartment. Here." Jack sheepishly took the wallet from the giant's hand. "Oh," he said in a very, very small voice. Dennis smiled and asked, "What's for lunch, little guy?" And so, stuck with a giant mouth to feed, Jack and Mom lived hungrily ever after. However, they did learn a lot about science. The end. We happen to be learning a lot about science today, too. So, you guys tell me who we talked about in the book that is a famous scientist still to this day. If you said Sir Isaac Newton, you are 100% correct. Sir Isaac Newton was born on January 4th, 1643, and died on March 31st, 1727, making him 84 years old before he passed away. Sir Isaac Newton was an English mathematician, physicist, astronomer, a theologist, and an author, also described in his day as a natural philosopher, who is widely recognized as one of the most influential scientists of all time and as a key figure in the scientific revolution. Sounds pretty important, right? Well, he is important because he is one of the scientists that explains how gravity works and how motion works and all of the science between why something happens. It's pretty amazing to me. Move On Up That Beanstalk, Jack is a book that reflects on his 3 laws of motion. Can you recall any of the laws that were discussed in the book that I just read? It's a little bit hard for me to sit here and not have you guys answer back. So thank you for bearing with me. But hopefully some of you did answer back. And his first law of motion is objects in motion tend to stay in motion, and objects at rest tend to stay at rest unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Makes sense? His second law of motion is the acceleration of an object depends on the mass of the object and the amount of force applied. Force equals mass times acceleration. So F equals ma is the mathematical equation to figure that out. Pretty neat, right? And his third law of motion is for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That one's my favorite. That one makes the most sense to me, and hopefully that's something you're going to learn from today's activity. If you said any of these 3 laws, you were totally correct. And if you didn't, when you get some free time later, you should definitely research Sir Isaac Newton and all of his laws, but especially his laws of motion. There is a lot of interesting information there. So after hearing these 3 laws of motion, which law of motion could you use to answer this next question? Are you ready for the question? All right. Which would be harder for you, to push a baby stroller or a full-sized car? That's right. The second law of motion would give us the answer to that question. A lot of you probably answered the actual question itself, which was, is it easier to move a baby stroller or a full-size car? So the correct answer to that is obviously a full-sized car. An object's speed can change based on its mass and the forces action upon it. We could easily move a stroller because it is closer to our size, and for some of us, even smaller, which means less force to move it. Making its mass comparable to our own size makes it easier to move. So a full-sized vehicle has a much larger mass and therefore is heavier and making it more difficult for us to forcibly move it without some kind of help. Today, I have an activity for everyone to try called pendulum painting. Have you guys ever tried pendulum painting before? I am really excited. I just did it for the first time today, and it was a lot of fun. It can get a little messy, so I recommend doing it outside. But if you do it inside, like I had to today because it's raining, you can use like a dollar store table cover or a big tarp or something like that, extra newspaper, just something to get the random paint splatters taken care of for easy cleanup. So, do any of you know what a pendulum is? I'm hoping we have some of you raising your hands, but for the ones that aren't, a pendulum is, I wish I had a picture to show you right now. I guess I can't, but it's the big triangle there with something hanging down and it ticks back and forth. I hope that was a good enough explanation for you. But the massive object in the middle of a pendulum is referred to as a pendulum bob, or more simply put, bob. Interesting? There are two dominant forces acting upon a pendulum bob at all times during the course of motion. There is the force of gravity that acts downwards upon the bob. It results from the Earth's mass attracting the mass of the bob, and there is a tension force acting upward and towards the pivot point of the pendulum. So for this activity, and I'll make sure to post this below, you will need 2 chairs of equal size, a broom handle, poster board, or a really large piece of art paper. You could transform the paint into chalk paint, and you could do it outside on the road or the sidewalk or a parking lot. You're also going to need a hole punch, 2 paper cups, yarn, tape, washable acrylic paint, and water, and paper towels. It does get a little messy. Not too messy, just a little messy. So you will start by placing the chairs back facing each other like I have here. I'm going to be a little closer. Here we are. So you have both of the chairs pointing backwards together, and then you rest the handle on top, like so. Then, as you can see, mine's already set up. You will actually just have your cups. I have my cups right here. You have 2 paper cups. If you need a plastic cup or something else other than that, just because you don't have paper cups around, it's a little bit more difficult to put the hole in the bottom, but it's still doable. So you can interchange the cups out. For me, I found it was a lot easier to use the paper cup. And you want to hole punch it. And you want the holes to be parallel on the cup. So you want to be able to see this hole line up with that hole. Very good. You want to take that sharp pencil, if I can find mine. See, pencil here. You'll take the cup and right in the center, you're just going to poke a hole right through. Real easy. Again, if you need to do it, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult with a plastic cup. You may have to use a knife at that point. Definitely make sure you get an adult's help. And said that you'll need a piece of tape. You just take a small piece of tape and you're going to put it over top of the hole. So that way, before you start, the paint won't go right through and leak all over the place until you're ready. Set that one aside, grab your other cup, and pick your paint color. I started already with purple, so I actually want to layer mine, and I'm going to use some blue. So you put a good healthy squirt of the paint in there. Now, just some paint. Then you're going to add water. Now, you do want to add water, and it wants to be very thin, but you don't want it too thin. So depending on how much paint you put in there, you'll want to put about 1/3 paint, 2/3 parts water. So now I need to just put my water in. Less is more until you're ready. So just start with what just start with a little bit of water, see what the consistency is like. If it's too thick, you can always add more water, of course, or more paint if it's too thin. So mine actually, I thought I did pretty good, but I didn't. I need a little bit more paint. It's pretty thin. So we will just go ahead and add a little bit more paint. So again, we go ahead and stir this. And after you're done with that, you want to go ahead and you want to get your string. I doubled my yarn up. If you have a thicker rope, it won't be so bad. I just like things sturdy and I'm extra prepared. So I got a little bit on me. All right. And you're going to end up wanting to hang it about 6 to 10 inches off the ground to get a good amount of string. Cut it. Again, like I said, I like to double my string or my yarn just to make sure that it's sturdy. Doesn't need to be too sturdy, but I like to be prepared. So then you'll just string it through the holes. And you'll go through the whole way through to both sides. Just like that. So you'll have your cup like this. Find the end of your string, make it come down, find it even, and then you're going to go and you're going to tie it onto your broom handle. So as you can see, I already have it tied onto my broom handle here, and I already have purple paint down, so I'm going to bring you on over here with me. And we are going to watch the pendulum work. If you bear with me just a second here, again, first time. Thank you for being patient with me. I have you guys set up here to see the purple that I've already done. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my blue paint. At this point, you'll want to take off that piece of tape that we had on there, and you want to grab the string about right here, and you want to start it in a circular motion. As you can see, it's starting to go. And we just want to watch the forces move. All right, so as you can see, it's going in a circular motion. Super cool. It was a little bit thick, so again, if you have that trouble, just add a little bit of water. And so how this works is the pendulum uses a weight to work. So in this activity, the cup of paint is the weight. When the weight of a pendulum is hanging straight down and not moving, its equilibrium is in position. When you move the paint cup out of equilibrium and let it go, it swings back and forth because of the force of gravity. So in this way, we wanted it to go circular. Something you could try later is just pulling it straight back and seeing what the pendulum does that way. Again, if you really enjoyed this activity, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what made it stop, because eventually it comes to a stop, as you can see. It's friction. Friction seals a bit of energy from the pendulum with each swing, slowing it down until it eventually stops. If you really enjoyed this activity, I know I did. I can't wait to try some more paint colors on there and kind of tie-dye it. There are some things that you can do to further it, such as, like I had said, pull the cup back instead of in a circular motion and see what kind of design it makes that way. You can also try cutting the string and making or tying it higher. And you can, again, like I'm going to do, change the paint colors, try swinging it faster, try swinging it slower, see what the differences are. And like I said, I can't wait to try this on a nice sunny day outside and use some chalk paint. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed STEM today. I had a lot of fun with you. Hopefully I get a little smoother in my videos here to come. Our next video is going to be on the second Saturday of July, and then it will follow with the fourth Saturday in July as well. We'll have that information on our webpage as well as our Facebook page. So we will be visiting the Three Little Pigs, and we will be talking about the physics of matter. I hope to see you there. Thanks for coming, guys. Bye.